This just in from Donald J. Trump's own Truth Social about the Ukraine-Russia conflict. I just had a lengthy and highly productive phone call with Vladimir Putin of Russia. Amazing already. Trump just announces, let's tell people, let's do a post. We discussed Ukraine, the Middle East, energy. I imagine they mean like fossil fuels and stuff, not like, do you think that guy's got energy? I don't like his third chakra. I don't like it at all. He's blocked. He's got a blocked heart chakra. I reckon they mean like sort of fossil fuels and energy, nuclear energy, new forms of energy, artificial intelligence, the power of the dollar, and various other subjects. I suppose these are the kind of things that you would imagine they'd talk about. Imagine what he's not admitting to. Has the whole category of classified disappeared? Do you believe we're in a political era of total transparency, or do you imagine there will still be a requirement for secret documents? Let me know in the comments and chat what you think about that, because while we're learning all these things about JFK files, while we're learning all these things about UFOs and what went on in COVID and all those things that we discussed, the reason we love coming here, right, is because we look at power and go, they're lying. They're lying to us. Do you think that belongs to the past? Or as Whitney Webb suggests, do you believe that we have to remain personally authoritative and community-minded? Of course we do. Nevertheless, it is fascinating to, in real time, receive a president's insights into a conversation with Putin. Or do you see this just as a modern iteration of propaganda and comparable to just Neville Chamberlain saying, you know, I have in my hand a piece of paper from Adolf Hitler? Let me know in the comments and chat what you think about that. I would say it suggests a significant pivot in the way that public discourse around power takes place. We both reflected on the great history of our nations. That's pretty fun, isn't it? Now let's take a moment and think about Russia. Tolstoy, Dostoevsky, Rasputin, very big dick, apparently, magical, mystical man. like reflected, it's pretty good. And then Putin, yes, of course, I like General Custer. General Custer, very good man. But what about the smallpox on the blankets? Hey, that smallpox, it was a dark tactic. Got to admit, it was dark. We both reflected on the great history of our nations. Amazing. And the fact that we fought so successfully together in World War II, remembering that Russia lost tens of millions of people, and we, likewise, lost so many. Exclamation mark. Donald Trump, man. It is mad, isn't it, when you have seen for years now Russia vilified by the legacy media, Hillary Clinton, oh, Russiagate this, Russiagate that, all lies, of course, and propaganda, that Russia were significant allies in the war against the Nazis. Remember those guys? They hardly get mentioned these days. We each talked about the strength of our respective nations and the great benefit that we will someday have in working together. The great benefit we will someday have in working together. Surely, isn't this sort of like peace in our time stuff, but the sort of Twitter version? But first, I didn't mean peace in our time, because that's what Neville Chamberlain erroneously assumed of his diplomatic relations with Adolf Hitler, which actually were just the precipice of a massive, massive war. So I hope it's not that. But first, as we both agreed, I feel like it does seem like, well, maybe Trump's going to do diplomacy in some sort of art of the deal way, and like this whole Russia-Ukraine conflict is going to end. And you'd have to be pretty devoted to your belief system not to think that it's good for Russians and Ukrainians and everyone if that war ends, isn't it? I mean, if you see Jeffrey Sachs talking about it, or John Mearsheimer, you think, oh man, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. NATO provoked them. Putin's obviously a leery geezer. Shut this shit down double quick, because who's benefiting from this other than the military-industrial complex and the Pentagon, who can't pass an audit, and Ukraine apparently selling off half their weapons to Mexican drug cartels? Sort of stuff that's got to end, doesn't it? First, as we both agreed, we want to stop the millions of deaths taking place in the war with Russia and Ukraine. Yeah, agreed. President Putin even used my very strong... What I love about Donald Trump is in the middle of an announcement about world peace and brokering a peace deal between warring nations, he bothers to stop to say that President Putin even used my very strong campaign motto of common sense. Like, he's not so engaged by negotiating world peace that he doesn't notice. It's my campaign motto there, common sense. Also, common sense existed before that. We've all said that for ages. That's like, I invented that common sense, that concept. That's me, that's Trump. I'm going to put that on top of something. Like, what?
That's good stuff, man. We both believe very strongly in it. We believe in common sense. But in a way, common sense is it's a synonym for God, that there's an agreed upon perspective on reality, that wherever you are in the world, whoever you are, whatever happened to you in the past, whatever you are biologically or psychologically, there's an agreed upon order. And let me know, do you think there is? There is, isn't there? Like we know, be kind, be loving, be loyal, don't lie, don't make people do things they don't want to do. We all know that. And when people don't do that, we know they're wrong. So there is a God. So that's good, whether you call it common sense or, as I do, Jesus. We both believe very strongly in it, common sense. We've agreed to work together very closely, too closely, each other's breath, stubble on each other's neck, including visiting each other's nations. Surely a good thing. We have also agreed to have our respective teams start negotiations immediately. And we will begin by calling President Zelensky of Ukraine. This is what everyone who loves Trump thinks was going to happen, isn't it? Like, Trump's not going to muck about. He's going to go, Vladimir, come on. There's going to be a war. You can't win a war against us. It's draining. Let's focus on what we want. Like, I've heard him talk about North Korea and stuff in ways that are, like, unbelievable. And I can't even go into it. Okay, so this is what you anticipated, that he was going to use his sort of odd, kind of peculiar style of communication to positively impact even, potential global wars. We're going to be calling Zelensky of Ukraine to inform him of the conversation, something which I'll be doing right now. I mean, I won't be surprised if it ended there, because he literally sort of drops the pen, although we've seen on that Tucker Carlson documentary that he dictates these posts, doesn't he? Right now, I have asked Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Director of the CIA John Ratcliffe, National Security Advisor Michael Waltz, and Ambassador and Special Envoy Steve Witkoff to lead the negotiations, which I strongly feel will be successful. Millions of people have died in a war that would not have happened if I were president, but it did happen. I know. Did happen too late now. Millions of people died. Did happen. Wouldn't have happened if I was president. Election was stolen in 2020. I should have been president. Amazing. But it did happen, so it must end. No more lives should be lost. I want to thank President Putin for his time and effort with respect to this call, and for the release yesterday of Mark Fogel, a wonderful man that I personally greeted last night at the White House. So a hostage got released in this ongoing negotiation. Pretty cool. I believe this effort will lead to a successful conclusion, hopefully soon. Can't come too soon. Gotta have peace. Gotta have negotiations. Well, there you go. That is a brilliant example of Trump's contemporary diplomacy. Whatever your feelings are about the deep state and Donald Trump, there's no question that politics is happening differently now. It's happening live. It's happening immediately. It's happening in real time. It's happening with curse words. It's happening with Elon Musk calling himself hairy balls and CNN just having to, forgive the phrase, choke them hairy balls down. It's happening in a new way, where right off the cuff and off the bat, diplomatic relationships are apparently being improved, or at least negotiated and announced in real time. I bet that there is more likelihood of peace between Ukraine and Russia right now than at any point since Biden was on your TV saying, listen, we're going to be escalating tensions, we're going to be imposing sanctions, we wouldn't send troops, that would mean World War III for Christ's sake. Or perhaps any time since Condoleezza Rice announced that they wanted to get gas pipelines and they didn't want Germany to be taking advantage of the shale gas deals that Russia would be making. Whatever caused the war between Ukraine and Russia, it will probably be solved by weird, radical, new forms of diplomacy. Or maybe Donald Trump would contest that it isn't new and radical, that it's simply the art of a deal. Let's have a look and see how it unfolds together. It's certainly better than what Kamala Harris would have done. I think we can agree with that, can't we? That if Kamala Harris was in the White House right now, we wouldn't be hearing, hey, the war might be coming to an end. But that's just what I think. Why don't you let me know what you think in the comments and chat. 1775. Some companies stand for diversity quotas and ESG scores. 1775 coffee stands for bold flavor, real quality, and the kind of work ethic that would get half of DC fired on day one. If your morning fuel should actually taste like coffee and not like the liquid equivalent of Biden's farts, you're in the right place. Dark roast hits harder than a Trump tariff. Medium roast keeps it bold without the bitterness. And Vitality Mushroom Blend fuels the fight with lion's mane, cordyceps, and reishi. Real energy. No synthetic garbage, straight from Bill Gates' lab. Yeah, real coffee for real Americans. like me. Weak coffee is for the weak, and at Rumble, weak has never been part of the mission. No fillers, no shortcuts, and proudly backed by a platform that does not cut corners, water things down, or settle for mediocrity. For pods, whole bean, or ground coffee, head to 1775coffee.com, use the code BRAND for 15% off, and start your morning with coffee that stands for something. Hey, thanks for watching. If you want to see more uncensored content where free speech can flourish, join our live stream. Click the link right here to watch the next video if you want to, or become a member of a growing movement. Download the Rumble app and you'll be informed every time we make a new piece of content. Stay free.